Hi, I'm Dr. Bernard Starr with a special edition of the Longevity Report for living longer and better. This report is a tribute to Alice Brock, Alice of the iconic 1969 film Alice's Restaurant. After reading the obituary reporting Alice Brock's death on November 21, 2024, at age 83, I recalled my 2007 interview with her in a pub in Lenox, Massachusetts, for an article that was published in United Press International's Religion and Spirituality section titled, Alice of Alice's Restaurant is Back in Town. I updated that article in Op-Ed News in 2017 after a telephone interview with Alice at her home on Cape Cod, Massachusetts. The film Alice's Restaurant centered around Alice's quirky restaurant in Stockbridge, Massachusetts, and the wacky commune of dropout hippies living in a former church in Great Barrington, a few miles from the restaurant. They were searching for meaning and identity in a changing world. The film, starring Arlo Guthrie, served as a metaphor for the disruptive counterculture and sexual revolution of the 1960s. While Alice Brock was played by actress Pat Quinn in the film, the real Alice Brock played one of the characters in the commune. Now, listen to the recording of my 2017 telephone conversation with Alice Brock. You will hear in her own words reflections on the 1969 film Alice's Restaurant and her thoughts about contemporary cultural trends. In 2007, Alice told me she was suffering from emphysema. By 2017, that battle advanced to stage 4, as she reported in the recording. I'm convinced that her upbeat attitude toward life, the passionate pursuit of her artistic talents, and her connection to a long-standing social network helped Alice not only survive, but thrive for another 7 years. Here's Alice.
I don't know. I'm busy every day.
Mm-hmm.
What do I do? A lot of daydreaming, but, that's a big part of my life.
Mm-hmm.
I walk as much as I can, which isn't very much, but, I guess I wasn't on oxygen last time I saw you, but I am now, and so that kind of slows me up.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But other than that, I have a lot of visitors. A lot of friends from the Berkshires. Provincetown is beautiful, so I'm a great excuse for them to come to the Cape.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And do you still have reminiscences, reflections on that whole era?
Oh, yeah. We're all really still close.
When you say all, who do you mean?
I mean everybody, almost everybody from the days in the church.
Really?
And,
so you're still in touch with them? Wow.
Oh, yeah. And then my restaurants. I'm in touch with a lot of my ex-employees.
Yeah, in fact, about a year and a half ago, I attended a conference up at Kripalu with a group that I'm involved in. We stayed at the Apple Tree Inn.
Oh, yeah, that's what I used to
Yeah,
own.
I know. That was your place. And I mentioned to the owners about the history of it after that, but some of them, they were unaware of the history at all.
Yeah. Yep.
And what about Arlo? Are you in touch with him?
Oh, yeah. He did a concert up here. He does a concert up here every year.
Oh,
and,
really?
This year I didn't go to the concert, but we had dinner together, which was really nice.
Yeah, well, does that year still have an influence on you? Or
an influence on him?
Yeah, on you and your
on me?
Current life.
No.
Or is that just history?
Well, well, he's never really...
I'm talking about you and your participation in that, and that it was a metaphor for an era, practically.
Our shared past. But it's still, first of all, Arlo has quite the following, and
oh yeah,
and apparently so do I.
Mm-hmm.
A day doesn't go by that I don't get an email or a letter or a phone call or a card from somebody talking about the 60s or meeting me or how they'd like to meet me or, stuff about their own life. And
so
it's amazing. A lot of shelf life here.
And what do you think of the similarities, differences between that era and the whole protest era and all of the things associated with the 60s and that Alice's restaurant represent, and today with the Trump era.
All those protests did change things.
Mm-hmm.
And we're up against something now that I don't think anybody really ever imagined. I always said, well, at least I'm not going to live long enough to see the way this is going to end.
Well,
but, it looks like I have lived long enough already.
Yeah, well, one wonders, though, how this is going to ultimately play out. That's certainly...
Yeah, because each time he does something stupid, you go, okay, this is it. This will finish him off. And it doesn't.
It doesn't. He's a Teflon man. It just rolls right off. It's very scary stuff, too, in many respects, more scary than the Vietnam era.
Yeah, well, his opposition, which includes some Democrats, but not, a lot of those Democrats, they don't really care what they are. They want to keep their job.
That seems to be the main event, because it's hard to imagine that they could support many of the things that they are, tacitly in
if you're
supporting.
not true to yourself, it's going to catch up with you.
I know the history. I've written a lot of articles about this, and anti-Trump articles, and once reminding these sycophant followers of his. There's a great line in that LBJ film where he gets Everett Dirksen to support the civil rights bill, and he at one point in the office when he's trying to convince him, he leans over to him and he says, Everett, think of your legacy. He says, we're making history here.
That's right.
And Everett did, and and swung the Republicans over to support the civil rights bill. But I don't think we have that kind of atmosphere here today.
It's hard to say what kind of atmosphere we have. It's, I just, I have faith in human beings. I also don't think we're the greatest things in the world. So if this is the end of the human race or democracy...
well, they say no democracy has lasted for more than 200 years.
Well,
we've passed that. Now, 10 years ago, I asked you if you were 20-something now, as like at the time of Alice's restaurant. What do you think you'd be doing?
Oh, I'd be out there. I would definitely be out there.
Mm-hmm.
Probably, I don't know, I'd be very involved with some organization or party or group.
Mm-hmm.
And I'd do whatever I could.
Now, what do you think? Here's something new, the explosion of the sexual harassment accusations.
Well,
what do you make of all that?
As a woman, this is something that, it's just part of our lives, and it has been for so long that when they say, oh, yeah, women play into it, well, in a way we do, because that's the only way we can be recognized. The only way we'll be heard is if we're some pretty little cock teaser.
Mm-hmm.
And
so
that
therefore,
was the only thing that ever worked.
Mm-hmm. So in a certain sense, women were somewhat complicit with this because it was
they say, but you have to understand the history, which goes back.
Well, it's in the culture.
And not just this country.
Right, but it's not limited to the movie industry, or it was everywhere.
Oh no, it's absolutely everywhere. A woman can't walk down the street, a decent-looking woman, can't walk down the street in a city without getting hit on or commented on or whatever.
So do you think it's going to change now with all of these accusations and the repercussions it's having for politicians and other people?
Oh, yeah.
I mean, that's a first where it's a career ender for many people.
It is. It's really, I really feel sorry for men right now because they're twisting in the wind.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know a man who isn't guilty of some form of...
Yeah, I'm sure many are shaking in their boots wondering...
who's next?
Whether they're next.
But, it has to be dealt with not on an individual level. It's got to be dealt with as a cultural aberration,
Mm-hmm.
and men have a big learning curve ahead of them.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't really know where I stand on should everybody get fired or because it's so widespread. If you fired every man who ever sexually abused a woman at work or wherever, the world would come to a standstill.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's
You know,
interesting
so
thought.
Yes, it should be made public.
Mm-hmm.
I would rub everybody's nose in it because it's just been, it's a wonderful thing for women.
Mm-hmm.
I remember when abortions were made legal. Oh my God, that was my mother wept. She says, "I never thought I'd see this day."
Yeah, well, so things do change, sometimes
Yeah,
miraculously.
change. And
How do you explain America voting for a black president and then voting for Trump?
well, we really need a change, and a black president was going to be a change.
Mm-hmm.
And Trump was the only thing that was not the same old, other than Bernie.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
Hillary did.
Yeah, I think Bernie could have won if.
Oh, I do too. As soon as I heard that Hillary had been nominated, I said, "Well, we're sunk, because she will never win against Trump. Never." First
well,
of all, she's not
you and Michael Moore are the only ones who said that. Actually,
well,
everybody thought that it was going to be a slam dunk, especially after the Access Hollywood tape. How about him getting away with that? Locker room
he's gotten
talk.
away with everything. I mean, right up until yesterday with Pocahontas.
Yeah, that's.
God.
It's quite amazing.
I don't want to talk about him.
So, looking back now to, the 60s era and Alice's Restaurant, if you could, would you have done anything any differently than the way things happened and turned out?
If I had done anything differently, everything would be different now. And now I'm doing exactly what I always wanted to do, which is live in Provincetown and draw pictures.
Yeah, I was looking at your artwork. It's very, engaging and John, what do you call the style?
Oh,
is there a name for it?
Kind of,
I mean, the carrots and the forks, and then your figurines are. There's something very appealing about them.
Well, obviously, I don't paint from life. But I tell people I paint from the life in my mind.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't have any statement. I don't have an artist's statement about my work. It gives me great pleasure, and it's a real outlet for me, and always has been. And, for years, really until I moved up here, I hardly ever showed anything that I did to anybody. Mm-hmm. It didn't even get scotch taped on the refrigerator.
When did you were you painting back then?
Always, all my life.
Uh-huh.
All my life I've been making things and painting. And
did you have any training of that, or was it just something that you did on your own?
No, and my father was very adamant about don't take lessons. Don't take lessons.
Mm-hmm.
I think the most wonderful thing he did for me was he said, don't let anybody tell you what to do. And I don't.
Yeah, I remember him. He came to to your book signing there in Lenox.
Yeah, well, he's passed away now. But
I know. I read about that. But he was a ripe old age, though, right?
Oh yeah, he was 99 when he died.
Wow.
And the month after that, my mother, at the age of 101, died.
Wow.
They weren't together, but
well,
I think she was just
quite. Well, you're going to be painting for a long time.
Whoa, I really hope so, but I don't think so with my health the way it is. And I read that article about extending our lifespan.
Oh, the one that I sent you?
Yeah, but the one thing that isn't
he's quite a character himself, a real curmudgeon, very difficult.
Yeah.
I spent 4 hours interviewing him different times.
Well, the one thing that isn't mentioned that, to me is so obvious is what are we going to do about population control? we're going to have a population of old farts.
Yeah, well, that's a big issue. I directed a gerontology graduate program at City University, and was very involved in the whole field of aging. And there are people who have addressed that issue, and he's talked about it too. We didn't get into it in that article, but there's tremendous social consequences for that, and many of them are not good. For
And
example,
environmental consequences.
right. I mean, if people were actually to have vastly extended lifespans, I mean, this
Oh, it'd be awful,
Aubrey de Grey was talking about immortality, still talking about it. But if it was vastly extended, a lot of people might stop having children
Well, they'd have
to preserve the resources for themselves for living 200 years, let's say. And
people would have to stop. I mean, the Earth can only. I mean, if we've got all those people that keep living and living and living, we're going to have an enormous population. And as it is, we don't have it together to keep everybody well fed and healthy.
Well, and what are the consequences of having a population that's heavily skewed in the direction of old age, where most of the population is elderly? I mean, it changes everything, and it has implications for almost everything in the way people live, work, love, whatever.
Yeah.
They say people have written about that, and I've written about that too. It just didn't fit in that particular article. Although I did mention that film that I saw that starred this Aubrey de Grey, this British guy who says we're on the verge of immortality. And to break the ice, I presented that question to him, and he went nuts at the time. Saying, well, where I questioned him about the implications of this for society, and is it all positive? And he went nuts, and he said, "Do you know how many people die every day, and they could live forever?" And so I walked away. I didn't really interview him because I saw the guy was way out, and I just walked away.
Well, you got to think of the consequences, and besides, it just goes to show how disconnected we are from life and all other living things.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
All other living things, they come into existence and then they go out of existence.
Mm-hmm.
Every living thing, it gets born, it grows, and it dies. And for us to step outside of that natural rhythm is pretty outrageous on our part.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And it would have, but they can't do it. And I think the young people will probably say, well, forget this. We're going to just kill all these old folks.
Well, that's the other side of it.
Yeah.
Over there.
Because, we start complaining about getting older when we're, 40, 50? So then if we live to be 150, that's another 100 years of complaining. Fetching.
Or how about retirement? Hi, honey, I'm home for the next 100 years.
Yeah, right.
Well, this is a delightful conversation. You have any other thoughts that you want to kick in about Alice's Restaurant or?
No, but I'm just I can't tell you how wonderful it is that we are all still in touch with each other. This summer, it was just a coincidence. Some people had planned to meet each other here in town, and some people just showed up in town unknowing that anyone else was here, and we all kind of ran into each other. And there were about 10 of us that we all went out to dinner, and we're looking around the table, and it's like, we've known each other for more than 50 years, all of us.
Wow.
And it was so, we were so happy to see each other, so happy to spend time with each other. And it's just, that's really family.
So the family is still there, but you're not feeding them. You're taking them out to a restaurant now. Well,
I don't really, I cook, but cooking for a bunch of people, I have some stage 4, no, there is no stage 5. Stage 4 emphysema. So
oh, wow.
I'm okay as long as I'm sitting down, but as soon as I have to move around, it's very difficult. But
Yeah,
when
I'm
I'm
sorry
sitting
to hear
down,
that.
people say, "Oh, your voice is so strong.
It
You
is.
sound so good."
It is, no doubt about it.
Yeah, it's amazing. But
Well,
spend your life on your ass.
well, carry on. It's wonderful speaking to you and
Well, nice
hearing
talking
about
to
what
you.
you're doing and your active life as a painter.
Well, let me know. I haven't gone to your blog. I don't even
Well,
know
I don't
really
know.
what a
You have a
blog
personal blog, actually. It's all listed. I put most of my articles up at the Huffington Post, though that's
is.
changing. And, I've published in many other places, too, and for
Yeah.
several
Well, let me
years.
know when this.
Yeah, it'll be out in probably a few days because I have
Great.
trusted status there, so I
Great.
don't have to go through an editor. I just publish it
Oh,
there.
well, I do sell my artwork on a website.
Well, I'll have a link to your website.
Yeah.
I'll mention that for sure.
Be nice
So,
if you could mention that.
for sure.
I really have no income. I'm just living on air as I usually do.
So how do you
now that I don't have my little gallery, every little sale helps.
Mm-hmm. So how do you support yourself?
If I really tried to figure that out, I might break the spell. I don't know, but I do. I think it's because I don't worry about money. And as my mother says, you have no respect for money. I said, no, I don't. It's the last thing I think about.
Mm-hmm.
And it works for me.
Well, that's fabulous. Well, keep at it.
Yeah.
Stay well.
Okay.
Okay. Hopefully we'll be in touch.
Okay. Bye.
You can get anything you want at Alice's restaurant. You can get anything you want at Alice's restaurant. Walk right in, it's around the back, just a half a mile from the railroad track. And you can get anything you want at Alice's restaurant.